This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
How you doing there, shipmate? What is good with you? You gotta turn your mic. You understand the words that are coming out? There you go.
I forgot. I was trying to be quiet. Anyway, no, I'm looking. I'm good, man. Things are good. Looking forward to speaking with our guest tonight. We got a guy who's a mountain, and gonna have. I look forward to learning more from him, and learning more about him. But tonight we're going to be talking to Mike McCoy. Mike McCoy was he was in Notre Dame. He got a bachelor's in economics. He was a consensus All-American and named Lineman of the Year by the Associated Press, and was sixth in the Heisman Trophy balloting his senior year. That's pretty cool for a defensive lineman. Okay. He got picked up by the Packers. He played there for 7 years. He was the second overall pick, right behind Terry Bradshaw in the 1970 draft. And he was named Rookie of the Year. And then he came to the Raiders after 7 years and played with us. And then he went to the Giants and then a couple of games with Detroit. What's really cool is he was appointed by President Ronald Reagan on the Council of Sports for Drug-Free America, okay, which is pretty cool. That's something, you know. Anyway, I remember seeing this guy. He was enormous. He would come crashing through an offensive line like a tsunami. This guy was 6'5", 280 in the 1970s. That's massive. Okay, actually today that's still kind of massive. This is a really big dude, real powerful player. And I remember watching a play of his that I want to ask him about but I'm going to wait until we bring him in.
Which is one of the best things about having guests on, is that we can ask them and they can give a bunch of other things for us as well. So without further ado, that's a great segue. We bring in the mountain of a man himself, Mike McCoy. Mr. McCoy, aka Mike, how are you doing there, sir? And thank you for being here and welcome to the show.
Well, it's great to be here, Captain Jack, and excited to be with you guys tonight in the Raider Nation. And I met you in Canton, Ohio. You were there
Yes, sir.
for the induction of Cliff Branch, and a whole bunch of Raider players were there. And Mark Davis brought us in, and a bunch of fans like yourself, and very enthusiastic and fun. And a lot of guys went over to that corner, if you remember, and that's when I first met you. And we talked on the way out a little bit, and that's how we connected. So it's good to have that connection now and to be on your show tonight.
Well, it's great. Actually, next time, can you have Mark front my bill to come to Canton and, to all of those things as well? It'd be a little bit easier,
Yeah.
A little bit of a joke there, but hey, any help is always good there. But again, I appreciated when you came over, and again, it's one of those things where you know somebody, but as soon as you say the name, and the first words out of my mouth when you said, "Hi, I'm Mike McCoy," and I said, 77 AFC Championship Game, the Robb Lytle Fumble. I mean, that's what it is with me. And I'm sure that's what you get from older Raider fans, but we're going to lead into that. We're going to keep that on the back end there, because we're going to allow you to give some of the nuggets of what you want to talk about. We're also going to pepper you with some no gotcha questions. I'll
take gotcha questions. I'm fine with that.
Okay, well, OG might have a gotcha question for you, but just be ready for it. But it's not a real bad gotcha question. It's one of those entertaining gotcha questions. First off, Mike, again, I'm gonna give you a softball.
Sure.
Okay, you played for, obviously, being a Notre Dame grad. Okay. And getting a chance to be there in one of the most prestigious universities going, and playing for Ara Parseghian and just being that guy. And then the one thing that I did not know about until OG told me was you were second in the Heisman Trophy voting.
Sixth.
Oh, sixth. Oh, hey, still you were on the card. You were on the card. So what was that like, getting a palm as a defensive tackle from the great university, and what was it like playing for Notre Dame and Ara Parseghian?
Well, I think you got to know a little bit about my background. I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania, and I went to Cathedral Prep High School. It was an all-boys Catholic school in Erie, and at the time in the 60s, there was 1,200 of us. It was coat and tie, academic excellence, athletic excellence. Actually, I didn't go there till my sophomore year. A lot of people don't know this, but I was studying to be a priest. I left home in 8th grade and joined St. Mark's Seminary, and I was in the seminary for a year. So I'm a little different than some of the other Raider guys, and which is great. And after my freshman year, things didn't turn out, so I transferred to prep. I almost didn't get in because Monsignor McDonald was the headmaster, and he says, "We don't need these sissy seminarians." And I had a 92 average. But someone told him this seminarian was 6'4", 240 pounds, and he probably could play football if we let him in. So I got in. That's how I got into prep. And those 3 years at Cathedral Prep were exciting, and had a great mentor in Tony Zambrowski, who went to Notre Dame, played for Frank Leahy on the championships team, and he came back and dedicated his life to Cathedral Prep. So Coach Zambrowski was my line coach at Prep, and he got me to Notre Dame. I wasn't really thinking of college. That wasn't in our wheel bucket in my family. I grew up with my grandparents on East 23rd Street. My dad made some bad decisions, so we had to move in when I was in about 4th grade. And we had that Polish family, even though my name is McCoy. My mother's maiden name was Spadaga. My grandfather came over to America in 1908 when he was 18 years old. And his mom put him and his brother on a boat because the Russian army was coming in, taking all these young Polish kids off to Siberia. So she shipped him over to Canada. He came through Canada and came to Erie. He was sponsored in Erie by a Polish family. And at the age 23 opened his own business. So he lived the American dream, and I saw that. So that's kind of my background. So when I went out to the University of Notre Dame my junior year for an unofficial visit, I met Coach Parsegan. I saw the university, of course, Catholic background, 4,000 students, all male, Cathedral Prep, 1,200 all male. Beautiful campus, and Era just was coming in out of Northwestern and had a great first year. So the ball was starting to roll out there, and that was a pretty easy decision for me to make, even though I visited Syracuse and Penn State and Indiana. But went out to Notre Dame, and then Era Parsegan, class act. You know, you respected him. You knew that his staff was prepared for every game. You knew that we're going to win every game. That was our attitude. And I've got a thing here I want to show you that I still have on my desk today. It says, we have no breaking point, and that was one of his themes. And there is no circumstances that you cannot overcome. And I have this on my desk because we face those things every day in our lives. And so Era Parsegan kept that. And then he used to hold up his fist, and he says a fist is strong, but if one person goes their own way and is not a team player, the fist loses its strength. So he had a lot of different psychological and motivational things that he did during the week. So when you went into the game, you knew you were prepared. And Era had his problems with one of his daughters had MS. And then his grandkids, 3 of them passed away from Niemann Pick disease. And so he, after he got out of football, 4 or 5 years being in the broadcasting business, he started the Parsegan Medical Foundation. And up until the time he passed away, I think it's 3 years ago, he raised funds to beat that disease. So he was a fighter and Armenian. And of course, the Armenians were slaughtered, and he lost a lot of his relatives in that battle. And so his family came over to America. So he was a tremendous guy, and really respect him a lot.
Now I got one other before I throw it over to Daniel. How did Erie lose both you and Freddie Bolitnikoff out of state?
Yeah, well, Penn State, there was Rip Engel was the head coach, and Joe Paterno was an assistant coach. Pitt was still not a powerhouse, but Penn State was starting to be a powerhouse. And I went out there and visited with some of the guys from Butler, Pennsylvania, and Rich and Ron Saul, who ended up playing in the National Football League with our dads after we played a football game on Friday night in Butler. We drove to Penn State. It was just massive. It was like 50,000 students on campus, and it overwhelmed me. And they were girls. I said, what the heck are these things? Running around. So I wasn't used to that back in Erie and being an all boys school. And so I just knew that Notre Dame was it. And, Freddie, I think, loved Florida State, the weather, being a wide receiver and trying to catch that football when it's 10 degrees out in Nittany Lion land didn't do too well for Freddie. So I don't know why he picked Florida State, but he did. And he had obviously a great career there. Came over to the Raiders.
There you go.
And it's funny. I've been to Erie many times. I grew up not far from there. I'm from Ithaca, New York.
Yes.
Just the other side of the border. Yes. And it's pretty town, very quaint. All the buildings and all that. The old architecture. I always liked that about Erie. But something else happened that I wanted to ask you about. When you were awarded the Bronco Nagurski Legends Award.
Right.
And that's supposed to be the best defensive players in the last 40 years. Like, right. Tell us about, when they brought you down.
Yeah, they called me several years ago, because what they have done, you had the 2-platoon football in the 60s. And then in 66, they went to 1 platoon, offense and defense. So guys weren't playing both ways. And then 66, it was Alan Page was the very first one. So every year, the Sports Writers of America would pick a player from that particular year as one of their top defensive players in the first 40 years of football. And my senior year was 1969, so I was the 3rd or 4th guy coming out with that Bronco Nagurski Award. The Bronco Nagurski Award is really the Heisman Trophy for defensive players, because they pick a defensive player, an active defensive player, to get this award. Because you're very few defensive players, maybe one, I think, in the history of the Heisman, or ever won the actual Heisman Trophy. So this is a pretty big deal. It's either Charlotte Touchdown Club. There's 2,000 people that come to this thing. They've been broadcasting now for several years, I think, on CBS Sports. And you've got these young men coming out of college, and then they bring in the old guys. And it's a great, great evening up there. It's December 5th every year up in Charlotte.
I wanted to let Ed know. Ed, those are great questions. I'm looking at them. We're going to get to them. We're going to get Mike, because Ed Winchell, we are the older gent, but Ed is like the
ancient order.
Yeah, the ancient order. So it's like we bow to Ed, because Ed is like original Raider from the 60s.
Wow.
So I mean, from LA. He actually his principal was Jim Tunney, the referee. That was his principal down in LA. So Ed's got really good. So those are great questions, Ed. Remind me to send them to Mike, but we'll get.
I'll remind you, because I was looking at Ed's questions, going, "Yeah, we got to get some of those."
Go ahead there, Daniel. You had another one.
I saw a play against when you were playing for the green team, and you were playing against the Saints, I think it was. Right. And you got the defensive lineman's dream. Okay. Recovered a fumble and ran it in. You're a big guy, but you were fast.
Yeah, it was against the Saints, against Archie Manning. Mm-hmm. And probably the first quarter, because we jumped on them pretty quickly. I think we had them 7-zip. And our defensive end, Alan Roche, came from the right side, and I was coming to the left side. And he hit Archie, and there was the ball. And I can't tell you how many times I would pick up a football in the course of my career in high school and college and just play with it, pass the ball and feel the ball. And I just scooped that thing up in 25 yards, and I had my touchdown. So that was quite exciting.
Yeah, that's like one of those highlights you watch, a defensive lineman's dream. I played defensive line in semi-pro, and I got a tryout with a pro team, but it didn't work. And
should have had a 94-yard one. We'll talk about that later.
Oh, well, yeah, for sure.
What? No, let's talk about that now.
Let's talk about it now.
You want? Sure. Well, that's the Robb Lytle Fumble.
Okay. No, we're going to wait. We're going to wait on that one. We're going to wait on that. Yes. Because I thought, true.
Come on, Captain Jack.
I was like saying, was there another? Is there another one as well? But no. And I wanted to say, playing up in Green Bay post Lombardi, what was it like in that area when you go from having the pinnacle teams with Taylor and Horning and Starr, and then there was obviously a major drop.
Yeah, Vince left, I think, in 67, 68, and they had Phil Bankston was a defense coordinator, became the head coach. I got there in 1970, and Vince died actually September 6, 1970. That's my birthday, so I'll be 74 next month. And so half the team, because there were still a lot of the great Packer players there: Bart Starr, Dave Robinson, Ray Nitschke, Willie Wood, Lionel Aldridge. They're still there playing. And so they went up to the funeral in New York. And I don't know how many knew this, but Vince Lombardi was only 58 years old when he died. He died of colon cancer, and they didn't know it. And my late wife's uncle was his confessor, Father Bill Spaulding. And he was popping Tums all the time. And they just didn't have the medical knowledge back then of what was going on. And then it got him, unfortunately. So there was a great transition there. And Packers weren't doing very well, so they're starting to rebuild again, and that was part of that rebuilding process. Rich McGeorge was another number one from Elon College, tight end. They brought in Kenny Ellis, who ended up being an all-pro receiver. Willie Buchanan, Jim Carter from Minnesota. They brought in Scott Hunter, who broke all Kenny Stabler's records in Alabama. So he came in 71. They fired Coach Bankston and hired Dan Devine out of Missouri. And so we started building that team. And in 1972, we won the Central Division title at 10-4. So we were back. And as fate would have it, for whatever reason, the coaching staff got rid of like 22 guys off that championship team. And we ended up 73 okay. Then we brought in Ted Hendricks in 74 and almost made the playoffs again. And brought in John Hadel. And for whatever reason, they didn't like Scott. I don't know. Maybe they couldn't understand his accent, but the guy was a great competitor, a great quarterback. And they didn't give him much of a chance, unfortunately. And I believe if they stuck with him and stuck with the core of the team, that Packer team would have been another great one. And it was pretty good already. The youngest team in the NFL in 72 that won a Central Division title. We lost to the Washington, dare I say this, the Redskins, now the Commanders. And they went on to lose to Miami that year, who's 17-0. And we played Miami that year, and I think we only lost by 6 points. So I think maybe we might have had a chance to get that against that team. They might have gone 16-1. But, then Dan Devine stuck around, and he had situations, and they fired him and hired Bart Starr. And Bart was an assistant coach in 72, and he and Dan didn't get along, and Bart left. So there's a lot of interpersonal stuff going on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about. And, Dan's dog story and, how he felt that the people in Green Bay dissed him by killing his dog. That's not true. Never happened. But that's one of the stories that are out there. And then I played 1 year for Bart, and he traded away so many draft choices that Bart didn't have any. So I'm off to Oakland. It's kind of interesting because in 1976 we're playing the Raiders in Oakland, and of course that 76 team was voted the top team in the NFL the first 50 years.
Yes.
Of course, eight guys, 8 or 9 guys now from that team in the Hall of Fame. And so I probably had my best game as a pro out there in Oakland. I think I sacked Kenny about 3 times, had several tackles, and got 2 sacks off of Uppy and 1 off of George Bueller. And then the following year, my friend Dave Rowe, who was on the team at the time, number big 74, who I think, looking at that Super Bowl win in January of 77, should have been MVP because they couldn't do anything up the middle. Dave shut it down, and he was all over the field. Those poor nose tackles don't get a lot of recognition, and he had a great game. And then Coach Madden came in and says, well, what do you think of Mike McCoy? And he says, what do you mean? He says, well, we got a chance to get him. He says, get him. So Coach Madden went in the room, made a phone call, came back and says, we got him. He said, what do you mean? We got him. So Raiders traded for me, and I'm off to Oakland. And if you got a Catholic background, it's like going from purgatory to heaven. And Green Bay was a little difficult at that time. Great people, great organization, don't get me wrong, but it was rebuilding again under Bart, and he had to do some things and make some moves. So it was a nice way to see a different way on how football was played out in Oakland. Because you always hear about the big bad Raiders and Al Davis and, the skull and the crossbones and the dirty players. And, a lot of that was marketing, but they were a tremendous team.
Well, at least when John asked Dave Rowe about you, it wasn't Al Davis asking Phil Villapiano what he thought about Bob Chandler, because you've heard that story, I'm sure.
Yes.
So at least when he asked Dave about you, it wasn't like, hey, we got Mike McCoy. Pack your bags. You're going to to Green Bay. It wasn't at least that harsh. So that was a good thing on that call.
Yeah, matter of fact, Dave and I played the same position, and we've been great friends and still are, even today.
Well, and so you, like I said, you had the career in Green, and to be honest, when people think of Mike McCoy, they see you in green. For the most part.
Unfortunately, I'm wearing green. I should have worn my Raiders shirt tonight.
That's fine. I mean, because it's like even all of my football cards of you are of the Green Bay Packers. In fact, the one that we have for the promo, I never had a Mike McCoy Raiders football card. I never know it existed.
There is one. I've got 2 in the mail today, as a matter of fact.
Well, I'd love to find one because again, that's
they're out there. But it says on the bottom, traded.
Yeah, and that's the one that we have on the promo for the show that we had. Okay. And then the other one was for JT the Brick Show. I said I got to use that one as well. Okay. But obviously, going from, like you said, going from purgatory to from that. Now I wouldn't call it the outhouse, but definitely going to the penthouse with the Raiders, with the free spirits there. Now I got to ask. I'm going to ask one more question that deals with Green Bay. What was it like playing with Ray Nitschke?
Oh, Ray Nitschke was a very interesting guy. Again, the persona that you get from the public and from PR, and Ray Nitschke, this tough guy, and he was really a man of great character, and he did a lot of things for Green Bay and the community, and he adopted 3 children. And the first 3 or 4 years of his career in Green Bay, he was not a very nice guy off the field. And Vince pulled him into the office one day. He said, "Ray, you got to stop drinking and become a model citizen, and then you can be mean on Sunday." And Ray did that, and adopted 3 kids, lived in Green Bay. They loved him. Of course, when I got there, it was towards the end of his career, and I got in the huddle the very first game, and he was starting middle linebacker, number 66. So he tells me, he says, "Rookie, I want you to watch the pass, the draw, the screen, and the run." And I said, "Well, Ray, is there anything else you want me to watch?" And he had no teeth, and took those teeth out, and he still was playing very, very well, even though he was toward the ends of his career. And that's when Jim Carter was coming in, a linebacker who became an All-Pro with Green Bay from Minnesota. So there was a lot of conflict there, with the people, because they love Bart, and they love Ray. It was tough transitioning for Jim, but once he did it, it turned out okay.
And for those that don't know who Ray Nitschke is, because again, we kind of cater to a younger crowd.
Okay.
We're learning about the old days.
Right. So that's why we like to teach what the younger folks don't know. If you see the original, what was the prison movie?
Oh gosh.
Longest Yard.
Thank you. If you see the original Longest Yard, not the new one with Sandler, because that one was crap.
Right,
okay?
right.
If you see the original Longest Yard, Ray Nitschke is the guy that gets, shall we say, hit in the nuts several times by Burt Reynolds, and they finally have to take him off the field. That is Ray Nitschke. In case nobody,
I guarantee you that would happen
official.
in real life.
Oh no, he played the player. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That wouldn't happen in real life. I guarantee you that.
Oh no, it definitely wouldn't have.
Are you sure?
Oh, I'm positive. Burt wouldn't be standing up. Let's put it that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, and I wanted to ask about Ray, because obviously Ray and Dave Robinson were the the guy. I mean, obviously you had Herb Adderley and Willie Wood as well. But when I think of the Packers D, I think of Ray Nitschke and Dave Robinson.
Absolutely.
You, of course, too. Like I said, I got all.
Well, that was a different era. That era when they won the Super Bowls and stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So can we get to that Robb Lytle fumble? Because that in Denver, some Denver newspaper wrote that up as one of the botched calls in the NFL.
Well, I'd like to get that article. We just
it came out today, actually.
You're serious?
Yeah.
Wow. If you can track it down, I'd love to have it.
I will look at it right now and send you the link. If you can tell the story.
I'll tell the story. Yeah.
77 championship game in Denver. Mike McCoy, you're on.
Well, you got to understand, when I came to the Raiders, they just won the Super Bowl in 77. So I was coming to a team that was well established, and we were having a great year, and we made the playoffs, and we beat the Colts, Baltimore in triple overtime. That was ghost to the post. And Raymond Chester was on that Colts team. And we talked after the game, and because we came out on the All-Star teams together, and it was one of the classic games, I think, in pro football history, because they don't do that anymore. They have a different playoff system. So then we're going to play Denver in Denver. Now you got to understand, I got close twice in the playoffs. Never got one game away from playing the Super Bowl. And there's very few players in the league, when you look at the numbers, that have an opportunity to play in the Super Bowl. So we're going to play for the Super Bowl, and we get in there, and it's a tough game. 7-7, back and forth. I think it was in the third quarter. They were driving, and I was on the goal line with Dave. And of course, being on the goal line, you want to stay low, because you have your linebackers. Monty Johnson, who was a great friend of mine, one of the great linebackers. You should have him on the blog sometime.
I've called him. He hasn't called me back. If you call him to say to come in, maybe that'll give me impetus.
I will, because he's featured in the. Well, anyhow. So you just hear everything. You get down low, boom. I hear a big crack, And I'm starting to get up, and there's the football on the 3-yard line. And I just ran over, picked it up, and started running down the field. I heard no whistle, none. And got down about the 40-yard line, and hopefully nobody's going to catch me. And I looked over, and I saw John Madden doing this, and I turned around, and I see the referees doing this. So I came back, and I showed him the football. I said, I've got the football. It was a fumble. At least give it to us on the 3-yard line. And then years later, Al Davis told me, he said he was in the box with Pete Rozelle. Pete got up and went to the corner and made a phone call, was calling downstairs, and Al says they're going to screw us again. And that's what happened. They got the ball back. They scored, and 14-7, we lost. And then Denver went down and laid an egg against Dallas. They didn't play very well at all in that Super Bowl. So I'm unfortunately, or fortunately or unfortunately, I'm known as the Robb Lytle Fumble and guy who picked it up and could have run 94 yards in Raider history. So I guess I'm part of Raider history, not the way I would like to have it, but at least I'm part of Raider history.
Well, again,
I was wrong. It was from May, and from NFL Journal or NFL Football Journal blogspot. It was saying there's a bunch of articles that says if you type in Robb Lytle Fumble in Google search, you'll see a bunch of articles about one of the most botched calls in NFL history.
So you sent me the link?
How do I do that? Private chat.
Yeah, no. Well, either that or send it in the email, or send a reply to the email that I sent to both of you guys for the show for the link.
Okay, you can do it later.
I will reply and put the link in and send. So yeah. There's a lot of articles about that being one of the most botched plays in NFL history, or botched calls.
The immaculate reception was another one, and the other one against the Raiders again was the tuck rule or the fumble rule against New England.
Oh, what about the index card? And then against the Cincinnati Bengals, the first time we played them, they call it the blowjob because of the whistle.
Yeah, there were too many against the Raiders. It seems to be a conspiracy, doesn't it?
Yeah, and in fact, Mike, I do a show on Wednesdays with a retired official who's a Raiders fan. Two words that don't normally go together.
No.
Retired official and Raiders fan. And we do shows and we talk about, and he will give a breakdown a bit basically who the crew is for the Raiders game, and we'll give a synopsis of whether we're going to how bad we're going to get screwed. And before going into the game in against Cincinnati, he said, we're because Boger's crew is there, and sure enough, he was correct.
Oh wow, yeah, it really was. It's who knows? Al didn't make a lot of friends amongst his NFL owners.
Yeah. Right, but I mean, Mark's a lot more subtle, and I don't know. We're not getting the bad calls like we used to. I mean, in preseason.
Yeah, well,
I think a lot of penalties at all.
Well, the referees are full time now. It's not a part time gig for them anymore. They're full time and they work 11 months out of the year. So I think they're a little more professional and they work very well, I think, for the most part. And I don't know what the percentage is, but it'd be interesting to find out how many percentages of the calls were right, even though they have instant replay now. Probably there's been a lot. Yeah. When
the New England Patriots get penalized more than us in a preseason, well, it was a preseason game, but when they got penalized more than us, I was like, wow.
Well, we were there. We had our Raider reunion, and we were in the end zone where Wynn Resorts bought out all this thing, and Al bought it from him, and we had 300 guys sitting there. And I looked at that first call because we have the big screen above us, and it was right in front of us, and they called offensive pass interference. I said, I don't think so. And there was a couple other calls that I think should not have been called, or even against the Raiders. But it was an exhibition game, so I think the team played very well overall. Although a lot of starters didn't start, so I don't understand that, Captain Jack. We had 6 exhibition games, and most of us played most of those exhibition games, and they were brutal because you had training camp right between them, and that was brutal. And now they got 3 exhibition games.
Right, because they've gotten longer in the season, they took it off the front for the exhibition game. It used to be 6, went to 4,
Yeah.
And then when
No,
they
it's
went
3.
to 17, they went to 3. The only
Yeah.
reason why the Raiders got the 4th was because of having the Hall of Fame
Hall
game.
of Fame game.
But
Yeah.
and
I understand that, but what I don't understand, this is the last exhibition game, and your starters don't even get a quarter in. I question that, because if you watch the beginning, I've noticed the beginning of the NFL season, the first couple of games they're sloppy.
yeah,
It's just a whole different mindset going into a game, and the speed, and than in practice. So, you know, if I was a coach, I want to get some of my starters at least a quarter and then pull them out. But
yeah,
and Aaron Rodgers didn't even dress for any of the exhibition games.
right. And there's a dichotomy there about which coaches do which, because Andy Reid played Mahomes and a bit of his starters for a few, like the last 2 games. They at least had a series out of them
Right.
to at least give them the knocks.
Right.
But the coaching staff, even with the coach prior to that, I don't know whether it's a bad word to say Gruden, but Gruden didn't play Carr in the preseason last year as well.
Yeah.
And Derek Carr came out pretty rusty for the first game against the Ravens, and he didn't really turn it on into the second half.
Right.
And there's the thing called, game speed.
Right.
Game speed. And you don't have game speed unless you're playing in the game. And when you have a game against what is probably going to be the team that I think the Raiders are going to have to go through to make the AFC West champions. Yes, the Chiefs, I know, but the folks out in Charger land, okay, you got to beat those guys. And I want to see what you got game speed. The only quote unquote game speed that they had was in the scrimmages that they had with the Patriots. And they didn't really, or according to reports, they whooped them in the practice. And that was game speed in the practice. They whooped them. But, that's only so many plays. And I agree with you, Mike. I think that you need to at least play. It used to be, and this is how I would do preseason. The first preseason, this is with 4. The first preseason game, I said, okay, who won? What was the score at the end of the first quarter? That's who really won the game, because those are starters versus starters.
Right. Right.
The second game is who won by the halftime score, because that was starters versus starters. Third game was who won at the end of the third quarter, because that was starters versus starters. And then the fourth game you threw out because there were no starters playing, and those were the guys that were trying to make the bubble.
Right.
And that's the way it was. But
Right.
now
No
people
more.
don't even do that.
No.
Well, here's another point, though. That's a good point. But here's the other point. You already know what you got in certain guys, and you don't want to show your hand when you've got the best offense in the NFL. Just saying, on paper.
On paper.
But if you're going to go out there and completely dominate, which our second stringers did against starters in in that last game, dominated them, allowed them nothing.
Yeah.
What are our starters going to do?
Well,
Well,
Mike,
Maybe it's like a poker game where you're cheating. Don't show your hand up.
Right.
Mike, you had a chance to go out with alumni and tell for the folks that don't know about Alumni Weekend, say how give us an idea of how special that was to you and what the activities were.
Yeah, there was a saying that once a Raider, always a Raider, and I've heard that before. And I came out to Oakland for a few events over the years, but it seems the last 3 or 4 years it's been almost every year, a couple events at a time, and signing autographs. I played 2 years for the Raiders, and that's true. Once a Raider, always a Raider, and the team and your teammates embrace you, even though some have been there for 4 or 5 years, and even there's guys there for 1 year. They're part of the Raider organization, the Raider family, and they have some great leadership in the alumni group. With Shannon and Callie and Katie and Devin, and they work very hard to make these things tremendous. And then, of course, when Mark Davis steps in and does a lot of special things for the alumni, and getting this whole section just for us, and all the different events that we had at the hotel, and previewing I think it's going to be a great series much like the Michael Jordan series with the Bulls. They're doing the same kind of thing with the Raiders. And so we previewed that at the Cosmopolitan Chelsea Theater, and they had the first episode done. It's still being worked on, but it was fascinating to me how the Raiders started. And do you know their first name was the Raiders Seniors?
The Seniors.
And that was pretty fun to listen to that. And there was actually two Raiders that were on the original Raider team that were at the reunion. And so they introduced us at halftime. We went out on the field, and the people went crazy. And of course, they interviewed Jim Plunkett and Freddie Blinkoff and Marcus Allen. And then there was 300 guys who came, with their significant others or their wives. And it was just a great time. And we stayed at the Delano Hotel, and they treat you like a Raider, and you felt like a Raider, and you felt very accepted. And they had different interviews that they were doing, and so it was a tremendous time. And Freddie Blinkoff from Erie, Pennsylvania, always great to see him. And Tech High School, and I think he was like 4 or 5 years ahead of me at the time. And of course, when I first went out there in '77, I wanted to see Freddie. We're at the Alameda Coliseum. We weren't at the Coliseum. We're at the Alameda practice facility. And Freddie was sitting in his locker room smoking a cigarette. I say, "Fred, how you doing?" He goes, "Hey, Mike, hey, welcome." I said, "Okay, this is different out here. That would never happen in Green Bay. I guarantee you that." And so the transition was pretty smooth. But just the Raider alumni is a privilege to be part of that.
300 members of the Raider alumni. If in their prime, the 300 could have taken on the Persian Army. I'm just saying.
Yeah, unbelievable guys there. Yeah.
Now, I was going to say, other than the Lytle fumble, because obviously that is a signature play, what was probably because you said that your best game against that you had as a Packer was against the Raiders out in Oakland. But what was one of your best memories as a Raider leading up to that, or for the 2 years you were there? And Ed did want to say, and this is one of the Ed's questions. What happened to make you leave Oakland in 78?
79.
79.
Yeah. Well, the first year coming out, we were playing the Jets in New York, and I was standing next to Dave Rowe, and he says, "We're going to win this game." So we only got like 2 minutes to go. We're losing. He goes, "Watch, bing, 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 touchdown. We beat the Jets." He said, "We always win in the fourth quarter." So that was always the attitude. And that was because Coach Madden knew how to practice, knew when to push, when not to push. And we didn't leave our legs on the practice field in Alameda. I guarantee you, Green Bay was like this. We were working very hard. Harder you work, the better you are. But the Raiders worked smarter. And we saved ourselves for the game. Not that we didn't work hard, but we worked smarter. We weren't on the field for 2.5, 3 hours. We're on the field an hour and 45 minutes, hour and a half. In the classroom, still lifting weights during the season. You could not do that in Green Bay. You were so tired. You couldn't keep your strength up. So as the season wore on, your body wore down. And that's what happened with the Raiders. They wore people down. Mark Van Eegen was there. I remember they gave Mark Van Eegen the ball, 20, 25 times a game, and he'd run up the middle and, beating everybody up. And all of a sudden you do the out to Kenny, you do the long bomb to Cliff, and touchdown. And the defense sitting around and said, "What happened?" Because they had them stopped and bing, bing, bing. And so the Raiders were a quick strike team, and we had a pretty good defense at the time. And so that first year was very, very, very exciting. And then the second year they let Dave go, and I think it was Dave Pear and I were rotating at nose tackle. So I come back my third year. That was John Madden's last year. Was my second year. So I come back my third year. Coach Flores took over. And we're in the middle of training camp, and I already brought my family out and knew I had the team made because I talked with Al about that. And I said, "Hey, I'm starting my 10th year, and I don't want to pay $2,000 to bring my family out." And he goes, No problem, blah, blah, blah. A week later, I'm in New York. And what happened was there was a guy named Troy Archer, who was a defensive tackle for the Giants, was in his third year. And he had an accident, and I think it was end of June, early July, before training camp, and he got killed in an automobile accident. So the Giants go into their preseason without a 4-3 starter. So they realized they needed a 4-3 guy, and Oakland drafted Reggie Kinlaw at the time. And I believe what they were going to do, Dave Pear and I were going to rotate, and they're going to put Reggie on that. I don't know if it was called a taxi squad at the time, and let this rookie mature. But I think Reggie pretty much impressed them during training camp. So when however that works, the word goes out that the Giants need a 4-3 tackle, and here's what we're willing to give. I became expendable, and that's part of the business. And off I go to New York for 2 years.
And was that
put up Ed Winchell's last comment.
Okay, wait. Okay. Lunch with Madden in the 80s in Monterey, and I want you to know he spoke very highly of you. Mike McCoy.
I can't read that.
Yeah. Ed Winchell, who, like I said, who knows a lot of people and has a chance. He had lunch with John Madden in the 80s down in Monterey, and he wanted you to know that Coach Madden spoke very highly of you. So.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
But I was going to say, was that Ray Perkins out in at the time for the Giants? Or
oh God, yeah, 3-a-day Ray. These wide receivers don't know what it's like to play football. They're out there, get hit maybe 3 or 4 times a game, and we're in the trenches getting hit 40, 50 times a game, 60 times a game. Depends on how long you're on the field, offensive, defense. Especially defense, there was no rules at that time. So when I was playing nose tackle for the Raiders, I get hit 2-3 times. Because you had your 2 guards and your center. And I remember I got hit so hard one time, I don't know where I was, because they could cut you and do anything they want. It's like if you remember that Miami game way back when 4 defensive linemen went down, and against Miami, I think it was probably 75 and 74, and that's why they brought in Dave Rowe, and all these Miami guys were cutting these guys, and they put 4 guys out of the game for the rest of the year, out of football. And so there were no rules back then. So it was a very difficult position. And the 4-3, you move over a little bit, and it's amazing how the techniques change when you move from a nose tackle to a 4-3 tackle.
All right. Well, I have a question for you. Here's your gotcha question.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I asked Phil Villapiano when he was on our show to tell me a crazy story about the Raiders. And he told us about this guy, Purple Man, who was John Matuzak's pot dealer. And then we asked Jerry Robinson tell us a story. He told us about Bob Boomer Brown getting mad at Willie Brown for cranking up his TV. He was trying to sleep, and they had rooms that were adjoining. He went through that door and shot the pillow next to his head, and the TV got turned off. You got a good crazy Raiders story?
I believe those are probably fairly accurate stories. When I got there, we were up at Santa Rosa, and Phil Villapiano and John Matuzak were in the next room. Monty and I roomed together. So right after bed check, 11:05, we'd hear him leave. And then we hear him come back at 6 o'clock. I don't know what they did during that period of time or where they went, but it happened 3 or 4 times a week. So I don't know how these guys survived and were able to play the way they played. But John Matuzak was an interesting guy. I got to know him because he was from Wisconsin. He's a Catholic Polish kid. And I got to know him like probably people didn't know before, because we would chat about life and what's going on in his life. And finally really found out he was pretty angry about a lot of things. But one thing he was angry about was his sister died of MS. And he just was angry at the world.
Yeah.
And so we became pretty good friends. And when I was traded, he was the first one to come to my condo. And this is like within 45, 50 minutes after I was traded, he found out about it, knocked on the door, and he came in with 3 quarts of beer, and he was probably 2 sheets to the wind already by then. Sat down for 2 hours, played with my kids, helped me pack. I can't believe they traded you. And he was very sad and whatnot. And so John Matuzak. And then when I was up in Green Bay after that, I got a phone call from Tom Spears, and they're doing a movie called North Dallas 40. and they needed some big rednecks, and it was coming off that book, North Dallas 40. And so I talked with my wife, and I said, well, what do you think? They want to pay me $35,000. I said, that's, more half of what I make when I played football that particular year. We didn't make a lot of money back then. And then she says, do you want to see your girls fornicating on a movie screen 20 years from now? I said, yeah, okay. So I didn't do that. So I got another phone call about a week later from Tom. He says, we can't find anybody. Well, Dave Rowe went down and read for the script, and he says, I can't do this. Got another phone call from Tom Spears. He was trying to find somebody. So I said, have you ever thought about John Matuzak? He goes, no. He says, well, he may be hard to find because he kind of travels up and down the West Coast during the offseason. So they tracked him down, and he did so well that they increased his role in North Dallas 40, and that's how he got his start in Hollywood and the Goonies and Ice Pirates and all those things. So that's how John got started there. And I was out in LA, and I can't remember the year, but we were both out of football for a while, and I was speaking out there. So I looked him up, and I went to see him, and came to the door, and he had a big bandage on his nose. And I said, John, would someone finally hit you in the nose? They could finally get up that high. He goes, no. He says, I had surgery, and we know why he had surgery. He screwed up his sinuses. Marrying this beautiful gal that he met on one of the sets, and everything was, he said, Mike, I'm clean, I said, but are you going to the meetings? He goes, no, but I'm okay, blah, blah, blah. Well, what was it? A month later, he was dead at the age of 38. And which is very sad because he was underneath that veneer of toughness. There was a sweet man and a sweetheart, and he did help a lot of people that people don't know about. And so, when you have that personal persona, you really got to look behind the scenes and say, who that guy is. It's like Marcus Allen. I've never met Marcus Allen before. You hear a lot of things about Marcus Allen. You knew he was a great football player. You hear this, you hear that. So when I went out to the Raider reunion, I was just kind of watching Marcus, how he interacted with players and people, and you could see his leadership role just coming right out. And so I went up to him and I say, Marcus, because he went to SC, Notre Dame SC, great rivals. I said, Marcus says, I never met you before, but I've just been observing, and I tell you what, I would play with you anytime, and I would love to have been one of your teammates. And he really appreciated that.
Nice.
Again, stuff that you don't know, and that is, like I said, we got the scoop that the reason why Matusak made the movies he did was because of Mike McCoy.
Yeah.
And the reason,
this is good stuff. This is really good stuff.
The reason he passed away, he had a cousin come in from Ohio, Youngstown, Ohio, that brought some drugs and got them. They started snorting, and that was it.
Unfortunate. I do got in my because I got you can't see it over here off screen, but I have a whole row and a half of just Raider books, and I do have Cruising with the Twos.
Oh yeah, great book.
As one of the things there.
Yeah, great book.
I got to tell you, when we had Phil on, he told me I told him he needed to write a book.
Phil,
guy's a great storyteller.
I told him the same thing on Saturday night at the Marquee nightclub. I said, Phil, you need to write a book because he's out telling all these stories. I said, you're going to get too old, you're not going to remember them.
You know what he told me? You come write the book, OG.
hey, if you get a percentage of the profits, why not?
Well, realistically, I'm pretty good at writing.
Okay.
I would love to talk to him and maybe, I don't know, figure out a way to. I either got to go to California or New Jersey, depending on what time of the year. But I would love to do that.
Yeah, well, you got Zoom now. You got this thing called Zoom. You can Zoom a lot of that stuff.
Oh yeah, you're right. Good thought. Thank you.
And
I had to get in touch with him.
Maybe a ton of bills too, there, OG. Just get it.
Well, you can go 40 minutes with Zoom without paying for it. So you do 40-minute segments.
Oh, there you go. No, I'd pay because I'd want to sit and talk with him for hours.
Yeah, right.
No, but let's get to some of those Ed Winchell questions,
Absolutely.
Captain Jack. because he put a lot of good ones in at the beginning. I'd love to hear, what Mr. McCoy, Mike McCoy has to say about it. I know you said don't call you Mr., call you Mike. It was an honor to meet you tonight, by the way, while Captain's finding those questions. But yeah, I wanted to find out an exclusive story that's never been heard. So Arizona was not nice or professional with you. Tell us the story.
You're going to have to hit me down again. What was it?
Ed Winchell wants to know, he said Arizona was not very nice or professional with Mike. Please tell the story.
Arizona. Okay, I'm a little confused with that question.
Okay.
Maybe it was the Cardinal organization, perhaps.
That does not ring a bell. The only thing about Arizona that I can remember is I went down there and lived one off season. I had the first play of the first game of my second year had a New York Giant come down and I tore a meniscus. So
I think you mean St. Louis, right? They were in St. Louis at the time.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the Cardinal organization,
because they were in St. Louis. I don't remember. Oh, okay. I think this is what he means. When I was with the Giants, we're playing St. Louis in St. Louis, and I had a couple of sacks, and a guy named Jeter, defensive end from the Southern Cal, was coming around, and we collided, and his knee went in the top of my left knee, and I tore a muscle in that right above my knee cap, and I had some blood drainage. That's the only thing I can remember about that game. And then the following game was against the Redskins, and the guy from the Redskins, who was a center, right before half, threw at me and hit me right at that same spot, even though we had a donut on it, and I tore the muscle all the way up. Ooh. So I don't know what Ed is talking about the Cardinals.
It might have been that Conrad Dobler and Dan Deerdorf were playing at the time. Maybe
I didn't have any problem with those guys.
Okay,
it was the other guy, Ed Young, the offensive guard. He was a monster. People don't remember him.
Oh, I do. Yeah,
he was. I mean, don't get me wrong. These other two guys were pretty good football players, but that guy was. You couldn't move him. I mean, he was lifting weights at the time, and solid, and he was very, very difficult. The only thing I remember about Dan Deerdorf is I did hurt his knee. Maybe this is what he's talking about. It was on an extra point, and I came down and I got pushed into him, and my shoulder went into his right knee, and that kind of ended his career. But we never had any exchanges or anything like that. So I don't know.
So you played for Madden.
Yes.
What was that like?
Oh, man. Night and day from any other coaches I had in the NFL at the time. He was easy going during the week. He told us one time, I don't know if he told me, but he told the group, on Sunday he gets really excited, so he keeps everybody excited, But he was very, very calm and, very one level. He wasn't a yeller. He wasn't a screamer. You just get the job done, play like hell on Sunday. That's our rules. And
he yelled at them officials.
He yelled at the officials on Sunday, but during the week, I remember my first week, I was just standing behind Madden, and Monty was there, and the offense was the offensive day on Wednesday. And he said something about Mark Van Eegen, and he had that towel. And he turned to Monty, and he's biting on it. He says, "Hey, Monty, do you think I yelled too much at Mark?" And I'm sitting there, what is going on here? So actually, I've got Coach Madden's football, his 100th game football in my office, and so it was a thrill and a pleasure to play with a guy like that. And he was a Raider all the way through. And it was interesting in this film they're doing, episode 1. They're interviewing John, and they're talking about the Raiders and how dirty they are. And he goes, "Yeah, we're dirty. And what are you going to do about it?" I thought that was great.
So when does this Raider production come out?
Oh, it'll probably be a while because they're on episode 1. So it's going to be, like I said, something like, have you seen the Michael Jordan deal, the Bulls?
Yeah.
It was on Netflix. It was a great, great series. This is going to be this. So it's going to be quite a while.
Okay, well, great. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I can't wait for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Raider Ray, who is one of our wonderful YouTube cohorts in crime, great show. If you aren't subscribed to Raider Ray, be sure you do that. What does it feel like to suit up into silver and black? A real difference being a Raider? I would think so.
Yeah, because for me, the tradition at Notre Dame was pretty much like the tradition at Green Bay. And you had that tradition. And so when I went out to the Raiders, they just won the Super Bowl. And so that tradition was there. And they had great teams, prior to that time, even though they may not have got to the Super Bowl. So for me to put on that uniform the very first time, it to me, I was a representative of this organization and why they traded for me. And I wanted to play the best that I could. And I was very proud to be able to put on that Raider uniform. Matter of fact, when I was traded, Monty Johnson stuck my Raider helmet in my bag, so I still have that up here in my office too. So yeah, it was quite an honor to play for the Raiders.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you like, oh, you're going to trade me, but guess what? I'm taking my helmet and I'm leaving.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't take it. Monty Johnson put it in my bag.
Okay, well,
Right.
Raider Ray is a man of faith. He just asked, how did your faith impact your career and even in your years now? I know you have a ministry.
Right. Well, for me, coming out of Notre Dame and going into the NFL and meeting a guy named Carroll Dale, who was a wide receiver, and Bart Starr, and the quality of guys they invited me to the chapel program. I didn't know there was even chapel in the NFL back then. And every team traveled to Priest and they had chapel for the non-Catholics. And it was started by Bill Glass and Raymond Berry back in the late 50s. So every team other than the Raiders had chapel. So I started going to this chapel program, and basically where I learned that it's a choice that we make to follow the Lord in our life, and then it's manifested through our faith, and it's a personal relationship with God through His Son Jesus Christ. Even though I knew about that, but I didn't really commit to that. So it's through that chapel program and the Fellowship of Christian Athletes that I came to understand about that relationship and what that really meant. And that relationship is deep. It's solid, even though we all go through tough times. There's audibles in our life. I've gone through a lot of audibles in my life, like we all have. And so when you build a life upon the solid rock of that relationship and the relationship with Christ, and manifest that through your faith, it's very significant. And so when I came out to the Raiders, it was very interesting because they didn't have chapel. Now they had I think it was 4 or 5 guys that were meeting for Bible study with their wives during the week sometimes, but there wasn't really a quote unquote chapel. So I asked Monty, he says, well, Al, I said, what do I have to lose? Yeah, Al just traded for me. He's not going to cut me right now. So I made a little appointment. I went and talked with Al, and I said, Mr. Davis, I said, I came from a team that had chapel. As I was wondering if, why can't we have chapel? He says, Mike, I'm a God person. He goes, I believe in God. I said, well, good, Mr. Davis. And he says, I just don't, Al is very, very, he protects the team. He doesn't like outside influences. And that was his big thing. And he said, I just don't want anybody coming in here from the outside. So I'm sitting there and, this is a Holy Spirit thing. I said, well, Coach, I said, Mr. Davis. He said, no, just call me Al. I said, okay. Al, I said, what if we do it? He said, what do you mean, what if we do it? He said, what if the players did it on their own? He goes, fine. We had chapel. And that following week, we had, 22 guys come out for chapel. And they've had it ever since. Matter of fact, I think over the years, they had a full-time chaplain they pay when they're in Oakland. I don't know what the deal is in Vegas now.
Well, actually, was it Cunningham, the old
Randall Cunningham, quarterback.
Yeah, he left.
He was their chaplain, the last one. I'm not sure who they have it as now, but they do have a team chaplain out in Vegas.
I don't know why it ain't Derek Carr, but realistically, see, Raider Ray is a youth chaplain, a youth pastor.
Okay.
So, and this is very important to him. And him and I talk like Captain and I talk outside of the shows that we've done together and things like that. And this is a big priority for me and Raider Ray. We are followers of Christ, and this is the fact that you're a man of you have ministries, you have this and chapel. It's important to most of us, I believe. Amen. Thank you for standing for Jesus. I was healed of cancer, and he took me from living in darkness and gave me new life. Forever grateful. Thank you, brother. And the thing is, 2 years ago, I got diagnosed with the cancer that killed two of our Raiders players. The guys that took the motorcycles. I'm sorry, I have a lot of medications I have to take, and they cause me to be bad. But I had prostate cancer, and I survived it 2 years ago. And I, of course, man of faith, I knew right off the bat, I'm going to beat this. But who was the Raiders players? We did an episode on them, on one of the guys who died of prostate cancer. Him and another Raider were riding through with motorcycles in the off season, but they both ended up passing away with it.
Jeez, I don't know.
I'd have to go back there, partner. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know.
For me,
big mustache.
Ben Davidson.
Was it him?
Well, the big mustache is Ben Davidson.
Right.
Didn't he pass away of prostate cancer though?
No, he passed away from something. Yeah,
I'll look it up while you guys are talking.
Yeah.
But
for me, OJ was the understanding of grace, unmerited favor. Because I was always trying to earn it, and you can't earn it, you can't buy it, you can't deserve it. It's a gift that God gives us when Christ died on the cross for you and I for our sins. Now, a lot of people do get healed. I think that's tremendous, but my first wife did not get healed. She passed away in March of 2013 from cancer after 42 years.
I read that.
Even through that process, our faith was pretty strong. It was difficult, but I know that she's not having those issues anymore because she put her faith and trust in Christ, not in religion, even though she stayed within her frame of her faith. But as I did, she's in the presence of the Lord right now because of not what she did, is what Christ did for her and for me. So
and yes,
sometimes life throws you those curves, and you've got to just put your faith and trust God that all things work out together to good for those who are called according to His purpose. And her favorite verse was in Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 3. I have a senior moment. It's Proverbs chapter 3. I'm having a senior moment. But if you do ever want to see her story, it's called angelonice.com. Angelonice.com. My son put it together in honor of his mom, and it's about her skating and ice capades right out of high school and getting married to me and then putting the skates back on at age 61. It's very, very powerful. It's called angelonice.com. And then my website is McCoy77.com. Because now my ministry, I spoke in many prisons in San Quentin with Bill Glass and did a lot of different public schools, Catholic schools. In the last 10 years, I've just been focusing on students in Catholic schools in America. And lots of stuff happening in our culture today. Just in the last 11 years, we were able to intervene over 400 students in Catholic schools who were contemplating suicide. Because I do an assembly, and I have comment cards and feedback time about what we talked about. So I'm heading out to Dallas next week to start that tour. So appreciate that. Appreciate your prayers with those things.
You got it there as well. And I looked it up. It was Tom Keating and Ben Davidson within months of each other.
Right. And the thing is, it's really strange for me. I'm 57 years old. I was baptized like 6 years ago. Okay, because I decided. And when the doctor told me you have cancer, I got out, I left. Now my wife's waiting in the car. I got to go tell her. I'm like, nah, it ain't going to happen. I'm going to beat this. So I went and I said, listen, before I tell you this, chill, because I'm going to have this. And she's like, all right. And I told her. And her face just went white. And I'm like, don't. I'm going to beat this. I had all the faith in the world. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be, that doctor's going to die before me. Trust me. And I got cleared last year. No, I'm good.
Great.
All right. I beat it.
No, you didn't beat it. God beat it.
God beat it.
That's right.
And he beat it a few years before when I had a brain tumor in my pituitary gland. God beat it. Okay. I had no fear. I had faith. And I knew, no, not tough enough. You can't, if I stand with God, who can stand against me?
Yeah, that's right.
Mike, I was going to say, in your location in and around Jacksonville, are we going to see you at the Jacksonville game?
You know, I was looking at the Raiders schedule tonight, and there's a Jacksonville game November 6th. So I probably will go to that game. And
Yes.
Somehow we'll connect, okay?
Oh,
And
for sure.
I'm going to try to have my friend Monty Johnson come down and stay with us that weekend.
Yep. And
Yeah,
again, tell Monty I did give him a couple calls, but I don't want to, nag him.
I'll nag him.
I do want to nag him because he was watching our Toms, and then he came in. He's like, "Oh, this is cool. I want to do this."
Yeah.
And then so I got his number from Darlene. And by the way, I think this was Darlene's birthday either today or yesterday. So everybody wish Darlene Toms a happy birthday if you do. And then so I called him up a couple times, but I don't want to be a nudge.
No, I'll text him tomorrow. Tell him I was on your show, and I said it's a great opportunity.
And we're bringing a contingent I'm in South Carolina.
Okay.
And we're bringing a contingent down there.
Yeah, so you're going to do like a tailgating party?
Why not?
There should be an event on Saturday that a friend of mine is going to be doing. I will be like emceeing or headlining or whatever.
Make sure you let me know where and when.
Oh, for sure, sir.
And if Monty comes down, we'll definitely try to come.
Oh, most definitely. Henry normally comes up for games like
Henry Lawrence,
yeah. So we'll have Killer with us hopefully, because normally he comes up.
Okay.
And, hopefully we'll get some of the other folks there. And
I'm
always
gonna have to bring that up to Jay then and see if we can be maybe go a day early, go to the tailgate, spend a couple nights, spend the night there, then spend the night of the game there, because my head's always throbbing and my voice is gone the day after the game. So because I'm yelling and all the noise and the beer and make a real good weekend of it. And I'm going to have to talk to Jay about it because I think this would be cool to do the tailgates and stuff the day before.
And by the way, I want to thank Jay while I'm here. It's other Jay. It's Jay from South Carolina. Jay, I got in the mail. I got the most wonderful T-shirt, and unfortunately, it's off camera. And I will go get it. So will you guys talk for a minute? I'm going to go get the T-shirt while you guys continue to talk. I will be right back.
All right. Highlight Raider Ray's last comment.
Yeah.
Which before that, up higher.
There you go.
There you go. We'll talk about that. All right. Some things are bigger than football, and I knew that you had a special testimony. Is there any advice you would give to a young man serving ministry when you feel burnt out but have to lead your family?
Yeah, he hit me with that last. He's burnt out, and he has to do what?
Well, he's trying. He's a youth pastor.
Yeah, and he has to lead.
He took it out a few months ago. He's feeling a little burnout, I guess.
Yeah. Time to slow down. Yeah, I didn't do that, and I regret it. I was all over the place. Dave Rowe experienced the same thing, and his wife says, it's either me or the ministry. And so your first priority is your family. And And if the ministry you're in doesn't understand that, then you may have to reevaluate that. But I do regret all the times that I was gone, even though I was quote unquote in prisons and ministering to other people and helping a lot of other people. I missed some family things that I wish I wouldn't have missed. But when I was home, when I wasn't traveling, I was completely, family oriented. I had 4 children. I got 15 grandchildren now. So it's time to slow down a little bit. Reassess your schedule. Don't feel that you have to do this for God, because God can do it without you or me or anybody. And you just pray about that. And my advice is to slow down and minister to your wife and your family.
Great
Well,
advice.
while there's a good break, I want to, like I said, show the. Hopefully, we'll get the. I see. I can show it, but I can't see what because the screen is so. Okay, there. I want to make sure it's on camera. Can you guys see that?
SC Raid. We say part of it. SC Raiders. Move to the other side. There you go.
Okay, and.
There you go.
You froze. That's all right. We can keep talking. No, but the Raiders family from South Carolina is coming down to Jacksonville. We're gonna go after this.
Good. Are there any other chat questions that we can answer?
No, I was going to say, Mike, make sure that people know, final thoughts from you and anything that you want to make sure that you impart on folks where they can find you. And I know it was Mike McCoy 77, and for your ministries as well.
It's McCoy 77.
See that?
Here it is. Yeah. It's McCoy77.com, then angelandice.com. When you go to the Angel on Ice, there'll be a picture of a book. When you scroll down, there's videos. And I think you'll be encouraged by what you hear and what you see. Appreciate you guys, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to be part of the Raider Nation. And I am looking forward to that November 5th, 6th date. And I am in town, so we're excited about seeing the Raiders come down. And what I like about the November date, it's not going to be 99 degrees.
No, it's not.
No. The Packers opened up, I think last year or 2 years ago, it was like 100. I said, I can't do that anymore. Sit in those stands when it's 100 degrees, especially when I'm going to be 74 on September 6th. So,
well, sir, it was a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for the insights you brought to us and the stories, and it was great reliving what you did.
Thank you. I appreciate it. God bless everybody.
Mike, thanks again there, sir. A great pleasure, and looking forward to seeing you in Jacksonville, as well as any other thing. You got a friends in us. Was like the old Randy Newman song. You got a friend in me. So anytime you want to hang out, reach out to us. And thanks for getting a hold of Monty too.
Yeah, I will. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Good night.
Right. Thanks again,
Good night, sir.
Bye.
Whoop. I got you, Mike. Because I knew you were about ready to pop, so I got you out of the studio. So again, thank you there, sir. If there's something else, wait. Did you want? Did I remove you too quick?
I don't know.
You were saying something, and
No. It's great to be with you this evening. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had the segue out. So again, thanks again, there, sir.
Yeah. Well, I do have one other thing to say. Just that chapel program. One of the quotes that I use, and I know we all come from different backgrounds, but one of the quotes I use in these Catholic school students I speak to is from John Paul II. And he says, "Do not fear, open your heart to Christ. Conversion is a personal decision, accepting the saving grace of Christ, becoming his follower." And there it is. It's that decision that we make in our heart. All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Right. Thanks again, sir. Much appreciated.
Good night, sir.
All right.
Mike McCoy. Great.
Hey, do you want to see that John Madden's football?
Sure.
I don't know if I can reach up that high.
Well, but don't hurt yourself trying to get it though.
No. I just had my shoulder replaced May 31st, so I'm working on that. But I will show you this one. This is my Notre Dame helmet. This is incredible, and I don't know if you can see it or not. but this is a Wilson padded helmet. This is what I wore at Notre Dame when I played there. And this helmet was better than the helmet I had in Green Bay, which is the Rydell suspension. That was terrible. Then when I got to Oakland, we finally had the padded air helmets. So this helmet was, and then I had leather helmets when I was in high school. All right, that's enough. All right, take care.
Aye. Thanks again,
Right.
sir. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
All right. That was awesome.
That was fun.
Well,
And-
again, did you not see the back? I mean, that's pretty hot.
It's all right.
Oh, anyway, and again, thank you. That shirt does look awesome. And again, so I don't know who Delusional Detroit Lions fan is. He's got to be somebody on your channel.
What?
Yeah.
Delusional Detroit Lions fan. What are you talking about?
There's somebody in the chat that's his name is Delusional Detroit Lions fan. Maybe he's on my channel. I don't know.
Whatever.
Anyway,
sorry. Go look at your Super Bowl trophies.
Anyway, folks, that is not the end of the show, because it was enjoyable to have Mike McCoy on the show, but people have been coming at me for like, did you see? And I know that we had a chance to, and I know that OG has had a chance to look at the final 53 and the surprises. And again, this is initial. This is the initial 53. Don't everybody get spun, because what the people that are on the 53 today,
some people are going to get cut and traded for, and we're going to be picking up other players over the next month.
Not necessarily that, but I believe the one thing that we can say is that from what I've been hearing, Hankins, who made the final 53, is going to be going on the IR, one of those retrievable IRs. So maybe Pecco that got cut will come back in to replace him. That's a good guess there. Okay. I think that, Hankins is going to go on the IR, retrievable IR, and that we're going to re-sign Kyle Pecco, but that's just the way I think there. Also, there's
brother, why don't we put the link in and see if anybody wants to come on? I'd love to talk to. There's some guys I'd love to talk to. Raider Ray, Ed Winchell, anyone else. CR.
Oh, that's
F-16.
Ruben. That's Ruben. I'd
love to talk to some guys, man.
Yeah, so there's the link. If you want
I'll grab a drink and I'll be right back.
Okay, you do that. I got some lemonade here already. Again, I want to thank Jay for this wonderful shirt. I can use this to scare, or what is it? I can use it to scare people on Halloween. I got my own shirt for that. Come on into the show. The link is there. Raider Ray says he's going to be here. And for those that, I don't know if you got a chance to see this from the last time, I want to also thank the folks from the South Florida Raider Boosters Club that gave me a chance with their shirt this year. Great shirt. John Madden John Madden is on the back of the shirt, so that they to remember, Coach Madden, and that is on there as well. So again, I want to thank Jay in South Carolina Raider Boosters, as well as the South Florida Raider Boosters. Anytime I get a chance to hang out and rep the Raider clubs, I will do that. So again, no cussing. No cussing tonight.
We're on Roku. Do not cuss.
Yeah, this is a Roku show. This is a Roku show. That's why I put the warning up was for OG. I knew that Mike McCoy wasn't going to cuss, but
Yeah, right. But I didn't cuss, and
you
I know
didn't.
Raider Ray won't cuss.
I know Raider Ray won't cuss as well, so that's it. So again, no cussing. But if you want to come into the show, I put the link up. Go in. Remember, you want to talk. If you want to talk about, and I didn't put my YouTube link the link up, but I didn't put my YouTube up. So if somebody is monitoring my channels, I forgot to do that. Hit the link as well. We have about a little less than, actually, no, we got a little more than half an hour because we started a little late. So we're gonna go a little bit past 11 o'clock on the East Coast. We got about 30 minutes to go. If you want to talk about the Raiders roster, any of the cuts,
it's Freddy Krueger Day. They slashed and cut a lot, but you know what? I got to tell you, and I want to be 110% honest here, Captain. When I did the research on this guy and on our guest and all this, I was like, okay, I wasn't enthused. Dude, I was so pleasantly surprised. Like, there was so much great information this guy gave. I'm not going to lie, I was not enthused, but then as we talked and went on, I was like, wow, this guy had amazing stories to tell. And I'm so grateful that I got to meet this man.
no, I mean, again, it's when you think about his football pedigree of being at Notre Dame, playing for the Packers slightly post, Lombardi, and then coming to the Raiders under Madden, and being the person that that recovered. It should have been the fumble for a touchdown for the Robb Lytle.
It was a botched call. It was a fumble for a touchdown. And quite frankly, watching his highlights is when I went, oh, I wish we had a DT that looked like that right now.
Yeah.
Because this guy was a behemoth. He was massive. He'd smash through these guys. And I was like, wow. Well, if we have a DT that looked like that, he looked like a human tsunami. He was bigger than the offensive lineman.
Well, this guy's not a human tsunami, but he is big. He is bigger than what I remember him as. See, there was my segue. This guy's not a human tsunami, but he is a fan. Doc, how you doing tonight? What's going on with you? And what are your thoughts of the Raiders or the Pats? What's going on for the season, sir?
Shipmates, both of you all, good evening.
Good to see you as well there, Doc.
And you too, OG. What's up, brother?
Just hanging out with the captain, meeting with guests, and just enjoying my life, enjoying this show.
Here's my question for you guys. How does a man as big as he was look so mellow and loving? Jay, he talked about doing putting his life in Christ, and you being Judeo-Christian, a little bit of on both sides. I'm the brother of a Catholic priest. I grew up with the Diocese of Providence, the bishop, and all that stuff in my house and all that stuff.
Okay.
And he went to Europe for 4 years, University of Louvain, Belgium, for theology college. He got his master's in Christianity and the whatever they call that stuff in the priest's world. I'm just an old sailor and who played with Marines, and now I work for the Army. So go figure that one out. The ministry is important to me for one reason, not just because of the Notre Dame thing, not because of the Raider stuff. It's a personal thing. OG, you talked about coming out from cancer. I've seen it happen to other people too. And Jay, you've been through a few things in your life too, and I've watched you go through those. And to watch people change and to see their lives change and to become a part of something much bigger than I am. You know, I took my last alcoholic beverage on November the 22nd, 1986 in Olongapo City, Philippines. People think I'm crazy. Don't choke. Don't choke. Don't choke. Don't choke there, OG. It's the truth, and I paid a heavy price for it, but it's the greatest thing that happened to me in my life, getting sober and being able to be a part of something much bigger than I am. I was roommates with Jay for a little while, and I really got to get to know him in ways that are different from the way I knew him in the Philippines. I would love to meet you, OG, because I would love to get to know you better. I would really love to get to know you. I lived in Jacksonville for 8 years. I loved every minute of it. The football, the SEC, the ACC, all that stuff. I think the Patriots are going to be quiet. I don't think they're going to be rah-rah this year trying to run all over everybody. I think they're going to be quiet, and they're going to be kind of like what's a good word to use? Imagine something coming to you, and you see it coming, but you don't know it's there. I don't know why I feel that way, but something's telling me they're going to be like the quiet professionals. They're going to show up, they're going to play, and they're not going to go far in the playoffs. I don't see that happening.
But you still have them going to the playoffs, though, Doc.
They might get there. They might get there. I'm not going to say they will, but there's a good possibility. And the reason I say that is I never turn my back on Bill Belichick. Never turn my back on Bill Belichick. Because Bill is capable of doing great things in the postseason when he has a team he wants to play. But it can also be very difficult. Hey, you guys have been through it with Tom Flores and Jim Plunkett did great things, but they also had their not so great times. And I have a lot of respect for those guys. Hey, man, I'm married to a Mexican myself, so I know what it's like to be a part of that culture and what they brought to the table. I love what they do. I love the people they are. And I love that guys like you can be so hard on yourselves and hard on your team, but still love them as much as you do. That's a beautiful thing.
That's a Raiders fan.
A true Raiders fan.
And I am a true and believe me, OG, I'm a true Patriots fan. I was a Patriots fan when the Boston Patriots, before changing to the New England Patriots, drafted Jim Plunkett out of Stanford.
Oh, by the way, thanks for that guy.
For what?
Jim Plunkett.
Yeah, I know. I cried the day he left. I cried like a baby the day he left. I was only a few years old.
Technically, though, we got him through San Francisco.
But you know what? I still love Jim Plunkett to this day. If I ever got to meet him, and I would love to just shake his hand and say thank you for what you did for our team. Although you didn't do much with us because we had poor management, but I still love you as our quarterback. I'll always remember you.
Well, if I get a chance to see Jim, I will make sure that he signs something for you. Now, obviously, when he goes to Raider events, I don't think he has any Patriots
That's
pictures,
fine.
but I'll see if I can get him. And Doc, you heard the buzzer go off. It's always great hearing from you, brother.
Man, good.
And I thank you for coming in, brother. And I thank you for, like I said, all sailors on the screen. All sailors on the screen.
Yep.
Shipmates, love you both. Anchors away. Have a good night.
All
good
right,
night,
Doc,
sir.
thanks again. Take care of yourself. Appreciate it. That was Doc Cabral. Good to see him. And we're going to get Raider Kojo on as soon as we bring him in. There we go. Kojo, how you doing there, brother? What's going on?
Good, Captain Jack, OG Jack Daniel. How you gentlemen doing this evening?
We're good.
Doing good, man.
What's your thoughts tonight on the 53 or anything else?
Well, so the one surprise, we cut Darius Phillips, and I was like, well, because I thought we could use him for returning punts and special teams and stuff like that, but he was cut. So I definitely do not want Hunter Renfrow returning punts back there. So I hope I do not
We
see
still
that.
have DJ Turner.
Yeah,
We
and
do have DJ Turner.
we got DJ Turner. We also have there was another guy that was a returner. But if you have DJ back there, I don't want to see Hunter Renfrow back there either. Okay?
In the words of Derek Carr, we're good. We're good.
Yeah. and the other thing is that DJ Turner made the team and Keelan Cole did not, because of what DJ Turner can do playing special teams and playing wide receiver. And I think that's one of the reasons. Plus, I think he outperformed him at the end. I wanted to keep Keelan Cole. I thought we were going to keep 6 wide receivers, but we didn't. So it's quite possible that, and again, and I was telling the people for the 53 that I don't think we're going to keep Britton Brown on the 53. I think that once you make the 53, you can put him on the practice squad without him going through waivers. And that's the reason why Britton Brown is
He'll get snagged up by somebody.
No, they need to protect him.
No, you can protect people on the practice squad. You can protect certain people. You can protect people on the practice squad. So if they want to keep him and protect him, he will be protected. So that's the thing.
You guys want to hear something funny?
What's
My
that?
wife is not a football fan. Okay. She has been watching the Raiders games. Like, I'll be watching the games and she'll be standing behind me and watching them. And it's funny is she's telling me today, she said, Leatherwood is trash. We need to get rid of him. And we got rid of him. She's like, good. I said he was trash. And then she turned around like, every once in a while, it's like we get some problem in the house, we fix it. And she's like, we're good. We're good. And it's Derek Carr's cry. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm turning her into a football fan. I'm not doing a jack thing. She's just watching it.
Well,
It's great.
That's good.
I mean, I thought they would at least keep Leatherwood as a backup guard, but they decided he's not fitting in this regime, and that's it.
My wife said he's trash, and that was that. And I went, okay. And then they got rid of him. She's like, good, we don't need him.
He's got his $7 million for this year. That's guaranteed.
Right.
Okay. And so he's being paid. I honestly, I don't think
invest well, young man. You're going to be a bouncer at a strip joint.
Well, here's not see that I think that, remember, this is Lester Cotton's 4th year, I believe, being with this team, and he got cut, and he wasn't picked up on the practice squad a couple years ago, and it took him a year to get it back. And he was an Alabama product that was a very good offensive lineman at Alabama. He was actually not as acclaimed as Leatherwood was at Alabama. And he, for all intents and purposes right now, he's our starting right guard. So sometimes it takes a bit.
Well, we cut Kenyon Drake and the Ravens picked him up. I'm telling you, Leatherwood is going to get picked up by a strip joint who needs a bouncer in Las Vegas.
Okay. Well, I think that somebody will probably pick him up on the practice squad. I think that will happen.
I don't know. I heard the Chiefs might pick him up on the practice squad.
Yeah, I mean, I have a guarantee. I can almost guarantee you somebody's gonna take a flyer on him now that he's available. Somebody's gonna take a flyer. And what I want to know is that do we get? I mean, he's got his $7 million. Does he get paid on top of that, or if he gets a contract, does that cut into the $7 million? That I don't know. That's what I don't know.
I don't think anybody's going to pick this guy up. I swear to God, I don't think anybody's going to pick this guy up. I mean,
somebody's always desperate.
You're already getting paid. You can be on our practice squad. And he might go, okay, but.
Well, there's the bell, Kojo. Quit. No, out the door. What's your last thought?
My last thought is I think we're going to take about probably the entire month of September to figure out the right side. You know, they're going to look at different packages and stuff and see what they need to put over there because that first game is going to be very rough. And they're going to have to put either a tight end or a fullback or something to chip away. Otherwise, Derek Carr goes down.
I think Illuminor will have it.
That's my fear right now. You know, if that right side doesn't get sort of fixed by the third or fourth game, then we're going to have a serious problem.
I think Illuminor will have it.
It'll
be serviceable.
Right now, in Illuminor we trust, and Cotton we trust until we don't.
Yeah, I got you. Hey, Kojo, thanks for coming in, partner.
Yeah, no problem. No problem, guys.
You
All
be
right.
well,
you guys have a good one.
All right. Take care. That's Raider Kojo coming in. And we go to now, hopefully we'll get Ray in here sometime soon as well, but we're going to go to Fade. Fade to Black is in. What's going on, brother? You got 5 minutes. What's up?
How my OGs doing? That's all I want to know.
We're hanging good, bro. We got a good interview tonight with an OG and much more OG than us, and just hanging out, talking stuff, and having fun, man.
Good to see you guys, man.
Everybody's doing their 53s. We did an interview with an old Raider and an old school Raider, and then we got to talk about the 53s after, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that Phillips was let go. The three Matheson, Turner, and Bauer are the three guys I'm glad we retained.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Deshaun Bauer was Deshaun Bauer and Masterson were the MVPs of the preseason.
Yes, sir.
They played their ass off, as well as Webb at cornerback, and I see a lot of good things out of Webb.
Okay. I know he was up and down, but he finished strong. What do you think about Stidham?
Stidham knows the offense.
He knows this game. He knows this offense, and he knows how to be a good backup. And if anything goes wrong, we can go, hey, this guy can handle it.
Yeah, he knows the offense, but I sometimes I think he holds on to the ball a little bit too long for my
a little too conservative.
But you know what though? He is mobile though, Cap. He is mobile. He'll take off.
Right.
So he is mobile. He'll get yards if it's not there. He'll take off.
Yeah, but he's a little too conservative with throwing the ball.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, he's not Carr. We know that. That's why he's
right.
Back. Yeah.
What else there, Fade?
Well, those are the points I wanted to put out there right now. Those, the guys that we picked up, guys that we dropped. That's it, man. I mean,
do you think?
How do you like our dynasty?
Well, it's gonna okay. Let's get a playoff win first. But I agree with you, brother. I think we're going there. Let me ask you a question right now. If we had picked up Brady, like they were talking about, you think we could have beat Cincinnati? No, I'm just asking you.
We didn't have the defense.
No, but in that last throw, the last play of the game.
First off, that was a couple years ago. That wasn't last year.
No, that was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
Our defense,
hold on, guys. I'm talking about the Cincinnati playoff
sucked.
game last year. The last playoff game. We went to the playoffs last year.
Right, but that's remember, he who shall not be named. He who shall not be named won a Super Bowl his first year with the fake Pirates. Then last year, they didn't do anything.
Right.
Okay. So I mean, that's you're trying to project him onto a team that was already 2 years back from the contract. The things would have been different, and I'm glad.
Our defense was ass.
I'm glad we didn't. I'm glad that we didn't.
Me too, Cap. Me too. I didn't want him.
Yeah. Jay, we didn't keep Garbers, but he's going to be on the practice squad, hon.
Right.
He's going to be on the practice squad. Don't worry about that. But yeah. And I'm gonna ask you there, Fake, because we got Raider Ray coming in a little bit as well.
Okay.
Do we sign a defensive tackle, or do we sign like Sue, or do we sign a right tackle? Yes or no, Fade?
I think we should. I think we should. Got to look at what we have and how much they're going to want. Depends on the cap, right? So, yeah, definitely. If we have it, anything to improve the team, let's go for it, right?
Good outtake on that. Good outtake.
Anything to improve the team, let's do it. And there's a reason why they let some of these players go recently, right? So Leatherwood go. We took a big cap hit on that, but there's a reason for it. And why is that? Okay, so they have an agenda. This regime, they're doing what they have to do to make this team better. Now, you know what, man? I want to back them up no matter what they do, any moves they make right now, because we've been doing some good stuff right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for, if a person is not going to be a positive force or be a part of the solution. If you're part of the problem, you're part of the solution. Then I don't care what your cap hit is. You're going to be let go.
I heard the bell. Hey, love you guys. Oh, let's go.
Thanks again, there.
Hey, I'm going to fade out real quick.
Yeah, fade out. You're not going to go. You're just going to fade away, just like Douglas MacArthur. But we're gonna get Raider Ray into the show now as well. Ray, how you doing, partner? Good to see you here on the show as well.
Oh, what's going on, my friends? How you guys doing?
Hey, brother.
Great.
What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Good. Just want to hear your opinion on the cuts. The 53-man slash down.
I'm going to trust this regime, you know what I mean? And I've supported everything that they've done this entire offseason. There are a few head-scratching decisions. I would say, as I'm looking at the roster right now, I'm hoping, you know what I mean, that everything plays out for the better. I'm looking at the whole wide receiver situation. You go out and release Keelan Cole, and you go out and get rid of a Demarcus Robinson gets picked up by the Baltimore Ravens and goes and has an absolute day with 130 yards and potentially 2 touchdowns. And it's like,
but that was against the Del Rio defense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care who it's against. My situation is with Matt Collins. If you're going to keep a guy like Matt Collins, you better hope that he's ready to go, because Matt Collins is a guy with the Miami Dolphins who let's be honest, had quite a bit of lack of weapons, and he posted 296 yards and 2 touchdowns. And it's like a guy like a Demarcus Robinson, you have an opportunity in this offense with all the depth that's on this offense. That guy could have really flourished in big time games. You know what I mean? Whether it had been 2 to 3 games a year, and could have really broke out and been that guy for us. Not too big, not too worried about that release or anything. I'm just saying there's a few moves that I'm kind of like, you know what I mean? In my personal opinion, I don't think Matt Collins moves the needle that much for me. He doesn't do anything spectacularly well. He's good at special teams.
The one thing I saw out of Matt Collins that I didn't see out of Demarcus Robinson was the fact that he was actually out. He was actually blocking.
No, yeah, and that's exactly why they kept him.
And Demarcus Robinson, when I saw him in games, because remember I saw very little of Hollins, if not any at all. Is the fact is that I know Hollins will block, and that Demarcus Robinson, when I saw him even in the game up in Canton, he gave a lot of he didn't show a lot of effort. And right. I guess, and again, I don't see practices, so I can't see that. But if that was the big rub on him, is that they didn't see a lot of effort out of Demarcus Robinson this year, and that's one of the reasons why they let him go allegedly.
Right, and that's not my main concern. I'm just giving an example, just because of, if you're going to look at, okay, how much are you going to value a fourth option that's a blocker that is contributing to special teams, as far as when I'm looking at somebody lining up at opposite side of Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow, I want somebody who's a go-getter who can go and get that football. and really compete if I'm looking for depth at the wide receiver position. I love the old school aspect of being able to block and being able to contribute to special teams. But I do believe that we do have guys on the roster that can do that. And I understand the value of special teams. Look, when you look last year back at the 2021 season, a guy like Tyron Johnson who creates a fumble in that Week 17 Chargers game, Hunter Renfrow with a real heads-up play with a fake punt, 4 walk-off games by Daniel Carlson. Special teams is an extremely large aspect, and we can make the argument that without a good special teams unit, the Raiders don't punch their ticket into the postseason last year. So I understand the aspect of that. It's just some of the decisions. I did not see the Trayvon Mullen trade coming. I understand he's been unhealthy, hasn't really proved it that much on the field. I thought when he is healthy, he's actually a pretty good defensive back. And I thought in the room of guys, if we could create pressure with the front 7 that we have in the building, I thought Trayvon Mullen at least had a shot and could create really a good sense of depth on the defense. So to see him get traded away for essentially nothing, that was a bit surprising to me as well.
I'll agree with you there in the fact that it was basically okay, we're going to give you a second rounder with potential for a 7.
Right.
And it's a conditional 7 at that. But one of the conditions is that he's got to be healthy enough to make the roster. And a lot of times with the Raiders, your best ability is availability. And unfortunately, Trayvon Mullen has not been very available the last couple years.
No, I agree. And I just don't want that to be a situation to where, hey, look, say God forbid Nate Hobbs were to go down, or an Anthony Averett and a Rock Ya-Sin both go down, and now you're looking at the depth of your defensive back room. Like now I understand that the Raiders probably aren't done making moves at that position. That's my inkling. That's my gut feeling. Because it can't be, I don't think. But
Give
yeah,
him a couple minutes of the time, Captain, that you took up.
I'm giving him extra. Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, I just when I'm looking now at the depth of the defensive back room, you're really relying on those 3, right? You're really relying on Nate Hobbs to have a breakout year, which I do think Nate Hobbs is going to. I think he's going to predominantly be that guy that moves outside, inside. Anthony Averett, you're also talking about a guy who has battled some injuries. Rock Ya-Sin has battled some injuries. So it's just like the linebacker situation for me. You got a guy like Divine Diablo, who's a smaller nature linebacker who has dealt with injuries. Jayon Brown is coming off a significant knee injury. Denzel Perryman, outside of last year, he's been significantly known to get injured. It's just there's a lot of questions that you have to be realistic and ask yourself, like, hey, if a few of these guys start going down, is the Raiders defense in the position to go out there and still succeed?
No, and that's why I think that when I tell people the 53 that you see today isn't necessarily the 53 that's going to start the season.
Right.
Okay?
No, I agree with that.
And I firmly believe that I think Britton Brown is going to be put on the practice squad.
I hope so.
I think that Hankins is going to start on the IR, and we're going to bring back Kyle Pecco.
Did that come out today, by the way, Jack? I heard you talk about Hankins. Did he get another injury or what?
Well, I've been told that he is nursing an injury and that he's not quite 100%. But in order to make sure that we have him for the majority of the season, obviously, as you know, he's got to be on the initial 53. Right. And then in 24 hours, we can IR him, but he's a retrievable IR.
Okay. Well, thankfully we have Andrew Billings because he's had a pretty big preseason at that nose tackle position.
Right. And actually, I thought Pecco played well in the preseason, and people were saying how much of a person that how positive he was playing. They were saying the same thing about Vickers, and Vickers did in fact make the 53. So that's a positive thing there. But I think there's going to be a body, be it either Pecco or if Ndamukong Suh comes down off of his $9 million.
Well, he's going to have to.
Exactly. Maybe that's the guy. And I'm going to ask you, Ray, what would you rather have right now? Ndamukong Suh or another somewhat named defensive tackle, because there's a couple of them out there, or a Gerald Williams, or maybe a tackle that gets shaken off of the rosters that's available right now?
Well, obviously you can't address both positions with premier players, especially with the extension of Darren Waller coming up and with the releasing of Alex Leatherwood having his cap hit for this season. you're going to be kind of tied up financially there. So for me, I'm a big fan of Jermaine Illuminor. I've been saying it all off season on my channel. I think Jermaine Illuminor is going to be an above average starting right tackle for the Raiders. And I think that they're actually in good position as long as he can stay healthy. I think that they address the tackle position with maybe a lesser named guy, maybe a guy who they can develop along and doesn't have to start immediately. As far as the defensive tackle position, I also don't think you have to go out and get in a Ndamukong Suh. Now, obviously, he's the most notable name, but I would just like to go see maybe even a Linval Joseph or one of these big nose tackles. Since Jonathan Hankins is injured, I want to put somebody next to an Andrew Billings who's depth for him, just in case if something happens to Andrew Billings, who I believe is going to step up big in replacement of Jonathan Hankins. In case something were to happen to Billings, you need to have that nose tackle because it is essential in this Patrick Graham defense to have a big guy on the inside of this pretty much base 3-4 defense that they're going to want to run. So I would say you guys go address a big nose tackle, go get you a guy who can take on double teams and get disruptive in the backfield, and then go address your tackle with maybe a depth guy that's been released, somebody who you can develop over the next few weeks.
Got it. And again, Ray, we are up at the 155 mark. I am so happy you came in.
Oh, I appreciate you, brother.
Of course. I'm glad that you got your stuff in because again, it's not a great show unless we have the participation of other great people. So I appreciate Kojo coming. I appreciate obviously Doc Cabral, Raider Ray, and I'm missing somebody. It was just Fade. So we had people come in. And that's what makes this show better because, again, you don't want to listen to me talk. Thank God we had Mike McCoy on as well.
No, that was a fantastic show that you guys put on. I was just sitting in the background, just listening for a while. And then after a certain amount of time, I was like, oh, man, I got to start chiming in. Like, this guy's got a lot of wisdom. And no, you guys put on a really good show tonight. So hats off to you guys.
No, definitely appreciate it. Make sure if you're not subscribed to Raider Ray's channel, most people are. But if you're not, shame on you. Make sure you get over to the Raider Ray's channel.
Sounds good. Hey, OG, I'm going to give you a call in the morning, brother.
You got it, bro.
Awesome. Sounds good. Take care, guys, okay?
Thanks again there, Ray. Good
Thank
seeing
you,
you, man.
Yep, you too, bud.
All right. That was Raider Ray, and that's how we're going to end the show tonight because we are up against the tick. And I want to
Skipper, I need to dip out anyway. I got to go to sleep. I'm an old man.
No, we're good. We got to go anyway. We're at 156, and I got to make sure we are right in at underneath 2 minutes. So make sure tomorrow night, a double shot, the Wild Wild West show at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on my channel. And then if all goes well, NFL Nation Live at 9 o'clock Eastern. So make sure that you are here watching it. Wild Wild West is 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and then NFL Nation Live at 9 o'clock. It's a double shot of great football entertainment on Wednesdays. OG, good hearing from you, brother, and thank you for popping in.
I'm going to be on Friday night with Jack Kenna doing Dos Pendejos. Going to do my show. Let's rev up the season, brothers. It's time to go.
There you go. Hey, thanks again, folks. We'll see you for the other show. Hey, I see Ruben came in. Ruben, we're about ready to pop out, brother. So y'all take care. See everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night and then Thursday. Take care.
Good night, brother.
Good night.